The story of World War II is usually told through the clash of armies, the roar of tanks, and the shifting lines on maps. But the real backbone of survival came from places rarely shown in documentaries: the remote villages, isolated farms, and stubborn homesteads where rural families endured the war not with weapons, but with discipline, skill, and absolute resourcefulness. Before we get into these lessons, I want to speak directly to you, the kind of viewer who cares about the forgotten mechanics of human survival. What you're about to hear isn't romanticized history. These are the hard-learned truths of families who faced supply collapse, occupation, rationing, and brutal winters, yet kept their households alive because they knew the land better than any general knew a battlefield. If you stay with me for the next minute, you'll uncover principles that still apply today, whether you're preparing for crisis, building self-sufficiency, or simply trying to understand how ordinary people performed extraordinary feats. This isn't nostalgia. This is a field manual written by history itself. Now let's get straight into the core lessons, because every one of them still matters. Lesson 1. Rural families survived because they mastered multi-layered food systems instead of relying on a single source. The rural households that endured the war longest were the ones with diversified food strategies. They grew staples, kept livestock, foraged seasonal crops, and preserved everything they could. This meant that when gardens froze or livestock fell ill, something else filled the gap. Today, the modern equivalent isn't simply growing a backyard patch of vegetables. It's building redundancy. That might mean combining raised bed gardening with small livestock, dehydrating produce when it's abundant, and maintaining knowledge of wild edibles native to your region. Lesson 2. They treated preservation as a year-round duty, not a seasonal sprint. Canning, drying, salting, fermenting, cold storing in root cellars, these weren't activities reserved for autumn. People in wartime villages preserved food every month of the year. When milk was abundant, cheese was made. When eggs stacked up, they were water-glassed. When meat was scarce, bones were rendered for fat instead of discarded. The modern survivalist can apply this by scheduling preservation cycles, not waiting for harvest season. Turn surplus into stability. The families who lived through shortages did so because their shelves were never dependent on last-minute preparation. Lesson 3. They used controlled scarcity as a training tool, not a punishment. You see, rural families rationed themselves even before governments forced them to. They practiced stretching meals, rotating food stores, and eating small portions during times of plenty, so the body and mind learned to adapt. A practical modern example is to set a weekly ration challenge, where you intentionally cook using a fraction of your normal ingredients to test your ingenuity and adjust your comfort threshold. This is how you prevent panic when real scarcity hits. You've trained it out of your system. Lesson 4. They relied on community webs, not isolated independence. Even the most remote farm wasn't truly alone. Families exchanged seeds, traded meat for flour, swapped labor during harvest, and quietly passed information about threats or shortages. If one family suffered, the others acted before it became a crisis. The practical takeaway is simple. A lone prepper is vulnerable. Build micro-alliances, share tools, teach skills to trusted neighbors. Know who can help and who you can help in return. History shows that survival is a team sport. Lesson 5. They understood the landscape on a level modern people rarely reach. Where rural families knew which fields thawed first, where wild greens sprouted earliest, how river levels predicted upcoming seasons, and which tree lines sheltered livestock from wind. This wasn't trivia. It was life or death. Lesson 6. They protected their tools the same way soldiers protected their rifles. A broken hoe or a dull axe during wartime could, shut down an entire season's work. Families would sharpen blades weekly, oil handles, repair wooden parts, and store tools away from moisture. For modern preppers, this means creating a maintenance schedule. Sharpen blades every month, oil machinery before storage, and keep duplicates of high-impact tools. A survival plan without tool maintenance is, honestly, a blueprint for failure. Lesson 7. They adapted their diets to the landscape instead of, forcing the landscape to match their diet. When supplies collapsed, the families who suffered most were those who tried to keep eating as they had before the war. The ones who thrived shifted immediately. They replaced wheat bread with potato cakes. They turned beet leaves into meals when no other greens were available. They used every part of an animal, organs, fat, marrow, even the hide. The modern lesson here is to learn adaptive cooking. Practice converting whatever is local, cheap, or in season into meals that actually sustain. If you can only cook using grocery store convenience, you're just not prepared. Lesson 8. They treated livestock as renewable engines, not simply as food storage on legs. A pig wasn't just meat. It was fat, leather, bristles, fertilizer, and, barter power. Chickens gave eggs, pest control, and emergency protein. Cows supplied milk, but also calves for trade. Apply this today by prioritizing animals that provide continuous returns. Egg layers, dairy goats, meat rabbits, rather than animals you only benefit from once. Sustainable livestock, you see, creates sustainable survival. Lesson 9. They embraced hard labor without complaint, because honestly, the alternative was hunger. Many modern people underestimate just how much physical labor true self-reliance requires. Rural families performed daily tasks that would overwhelm most of us today. Hauling water, splitting wood, hand-tilling soil, carrying feed across long distances. They survived because they didn't negotiate with the workload. A modern application is simple but essential. Build physical conditioning into your survival strategy. Do real manual tasks weekly. Chop wood, carry water buckets, turn soil by hand. Your body must be as prepared as your pantry. If you found value in these lessons from rural families who endured World War II through sheer resilience, discipline and skill, make sure you subscribe to Warfield Prepper Chronicles and share this video with anyone serious about learning from history's harshest teachers.